right, guys, this is Crazy Kev here, and I'm here with Sam Alvey. How we doing?
Oh, doing wonderful, my friend. How are you?
Doing great, Sam. And with that being said, you're over in Karate Combat now. You're on a little bit of a tear. Talk to us a little bit more about your Karate Combat, style, and also too, what's maybe next for you, my man?
Yeah, so the first gym I ever worked out in, I was in a Kempo karate studio. I was actually doing weapons with Kobudo, and I just had a blast with it. I went up north to do a Kobudo weapons competition. I found a pancration thing, and so I started doing a little bit of everything from that point on. But it all started in karate, and years later, MFC champion, UFC contender, found my way into Karate Combat, and I have just been so happy with it.
Good. That's awesome, man. And talk to us a little bit more about like Karate Combat. I think that's a super interesting organization. How are they treating you? How do you like fighting over there? Talk to us a little bit more about Karate Combat.
Yeah, Karate Combat, they treat me so well. I couldn't get an organization to give me a fight. Post UFC, I reached out to everyone. BKFC jerked me around for most of a year. There's some Russian organizations, there were local stuff. I couldn't get anyone to say yes to me, and I tried everywhere. So I finally commentate for the B2 fighting organization, and I said, hey, I will fight anyone, any weight class. Can you help a brother out? Then we got you, Sam. And so they gave me this big boy. He was 275 pounds. He fought a lot, Cam Graham. And I got a fight in there, got back in the win column, and from that point on, I started reaching out to Karate Combats. Hey, nobody in BKFC is willing to fight me. Do you have anyone manly enough to step up? And they said yes, emphatically and immediately. And they've treated me really well ever since. I've been in there. I got that title fight in my second fight in the organization. I defended the belt. Kinda. I got headbutted, so it's a no contest. But even with the no contest fight, Karate Combat paid me my entire purse, show and win money. They didn't have to do it, but they saw what happened and they wanted to stand behind their fighters, and so that's what they did. I didn't lose. It was no contest, like I said, because he headbutted the tar out of me, and they stepped up and said, "Sam, it shouldn't have happened. Here's your full purse."
That's freaking awesome. Shout out to Karate Combat for that one, man. And with that being said, I mean, what was it like to get back in the win column, man? I know it had to feel awesome.
It felt incredible. It was, there were so many close fights I thought I won, but then the two of the judges said I didn't in the UFC, that I left on a real low note. I'm still aware that I'm one of the best fighters in the world. I might have lost a step from when Prime Sam in the UFC, but even then, I've just changed tactics. I don't need to be as fast anymore. I got bigger. I went up a weight class. I've gotten stronger. I'm lifting consistently. So I've changed my game a little bit, which has helped me a ton in Karate Combat. With the karate background I started with all my jiu-jitsu training, which isn't really applicable in Karate Combat, and wrestling is coming back into play. I'm much more confident and able to use my entire game plan with this faster-paced combat sport.
Yeah, no, that's definitely awesome, man. And I'm definitely happy for you, Sam, that, you got your Karate Combat career going and rolling. And, another thing, too, when it comes to the judges, I've happened to notice this myself. Like, when I go to, like, the UFC events live, sometimes I find it a little bit hard to kind of figure out who won, and then, like, the judges will sway the other way. Do you think maybe these judges should maybe, like, be in the back, like, watching on, like, a TV or something, so maybe the fans don't sway them, or then they also get a different perspective as well, too?
Yeah, I would be fine if they just found judges that have watched fighting at some point in their life. I think that would be a big step. I assume that before every UFC event, Dana White and the Fertitas or whomever go down to the Home Depots. Hey, I need three judges. Whoever jumps in the back of the truck is the judge for the night. And that is kind of how I assume they pick their judges for UFC fights.
I can't confirm that, but that's definitely interesting. You never know. And, man, with that being said, too, I'm not trying to look around or anything, but you mentioned, you did a little bit of weapons training. A little bit behind you. I think you got a pretty sweet sword behind us. Talk a bit more about that.
Oh, yeah. So the sword is actually the one I never worked with. So Kobudo is all farm equipment from Japan. So nunchucks, they were used to beat the rugs. Size, they stab the ground, plant the seed. The sword, I just had one, so I put it up there. That's what I started with everything. I'm not anymore, but I was really good with a bow. I could do all the fancy stuff. I had the spinning bows and over the head, behind the back. I could do it all. I had so much fun with it. The nunchuck, terrifying. hey, you hit yourself so much while trying to figure those out. They're more fun than you deserve to have. I love using them, but man, they're a scary weapon. And then the size are the hardest one, as in, like, you're trying to compete with them, trying to think, well, how would I use a side to defend myself? And they're the hardest one to do that because they're a little bit shorter range. I can't really stab with them. It's a very defensive weapon. And I just enjoyed them. The Tonfa was probably my favorite. That's the wooden one because it has a little bit of the range. You can get your wrist involved with it, and it has the defensive capabilities. And a lot of it is if I can block the one, I can get in close and I can use my hands and do whatever I want to with that.
That's freaking awesome about the Tonfa. I would have never expected you to say that was your favorite weapon. And that being
I
said,
had
too,
so much fun with it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I definitely wouldn't expect that because, like I mentioned, I'm a Taekwondo instructor, so like all these weapons and stuff, like I've obviously worked with them too. And with that being said, did you happen to do any sort of weapons competitions? Maybe when you were younger or something?
When I first started, I'm sure I did. I don't remember how I placed or how I did, but I know I did because I went up north. My first fight I ever had was a pancration fight. And I didn't know anything about anything. It was just, I was up at a weapons competition and there were guys fighting over there saying, I'll sign up for that. And so I started doing the pancration stuff, which for those of you that don't know, it's combat sports, just nothing to the face. It's MMA, just you can't hit the face. And face is my moneymaker, so I was real pleased not to get hit there. Not until they were paying me anyways. And so I competed with the weapons up north in Wisconsin 4 or 5 times a year for 2-3 years.
Wow, that's definitely awesome. And I literally just saw it right before we jumped on the interview. You posted like stuff on your Instagram story about like what kind of content do you want to post next. Do you still happen to have maybe those staff and nunchuck skills? 'Cause I think that would be a pretty sweet thing to kind of post.
That is a great idea. I could pick it up. It's like riding a bike that you can hit yourself with. I can still use it. It'll take some practice. That's not a bad idea though. Maybe I start doing some Instagram lives or TikTok lives, or I'm just swinging my stick.
Yeah, I think that'd be a lot of fun. I'm definitely curious to see what your skills are. So yeah, if you do it, let me know. I'd be more than happy to tune in and check it out.
I'm not what I once was, so don't be expecting anything great. But I give everything I had.
Fair enough. Now, one thing I always thought was pretty interesting with you, man, is obviously being Smiling Sam Alvey, you'd always have a little smiley face on the back of your hair, man. Talk to us about like how that kind of started and how long you were doing that for.
I started when I was real early in my career. I asked a barber. He was a lady. Said, "Hey, can you do this?" And she had no idea. So listen, if it looks bad, I can shave it. I don't care. I'm not attracted. And she started doing it, and I love this. You know what? I'm going to do that. It's going to be my war paint. Baseball players put the stuff under their eyes. I'm going to have it on the back of my head. And I just started doing it every fight since then. I moved out to California, and I found a hair artist out there. If you look at my Ultimate Fighter tryouts, I had Yoda shaved into the back of my head, and it looked more like Yoda than George Lucas ever made him. I mean, it was perfect. And then he moved away, and so then I went back to the smiley face because I couldn't find anyone else to do the Yoda anymore. But it was just, I enjoy doing it. It's very recognizable. People see it. People get such a kick out of it. People that don't know I fight, they stop me and they say, "I love the smiley face. That's wonderful." So, well, thank you very much. It's part of what I do now. I schedule it out week of my fight when I'm going to get it done and how to make sure it looks sharp come fight time.
That's freaking awesome. Yeah, no, I definitely always love that about you. And like you said, there's a lot of fans that definitely remember you for that haircut. So I'm definitely glad I got to ask you about that. And yeah, man, with that being said too, you mentioned too the Ultimate Fighter and your tryouts. Talk to us more about the behind the scenes with like how it even is to like get on the show. What do they make you do? And like who's even watching you when you're trying to get on the Ultimate Fighter?
Yeah, so the Ultimate Fighter when I got on is different from what they do now. Now it's that they have to amp it up a little bit. They have to make it more of a TV show because it's competing with the Contender Series, and the Contender Series is a better way to get fighters into the UFC. But the Ultimate Fighter it was a lot of fun's the wrong word. It was incredibly boring, but it was exciting not knowing what was going to happen next. They stick you in the house and you're there for 6.5 weeks with a bunch of other fighters, and all fighters ever talk about is fighting. So for 6.5 weeks, you're talking to the same guys about the same topic over and over and over again. No radio, no books, no TV, no nothing. Just the same doofy guys day in and day out.
Yeah, wow. No, that's definitely incredible, man. And, with that being said, too, what's maybe your favorite memory being on the Ultimate Fighter show?
I'm going to let me bang bro season. I'm Julian. I was there holding Lane back because he's banging his head against the wall. Let me back, bro. So that was a hoot. It was a lot smaller than everybody thinks it was. Like it took place over 15 minutes and then was over, and he was embarrassed and it was fine. But man, every 3 or 4 months, I get tagged in video after video of that popping back up, and I'm there looking younger than ever, just trying to keep Julian from putting his head through a wall.
Yeah, literally. And yeah, with that being said too, in another interview, I believe you mentioned, you used to used to teach kids at like Dan Henderson's school. With that being said, what was it like to kind of teach the kids, and what's maybe your favorite memory from doing stuff like that?
Yeah, most of my adult life, I've been an instructor. I mean, when I started working out or started fighting, I was the head coach. When I moved out to California, I very quickly, for a decade, I taught their kids program. And I just loved it. I got to meet the kids. I got to watch the kids grow up a little bit. I got to meet the parents. And I got to make friends that I still keep in contact with today. I don't remember an exact memory of what I was doing with the kids that made them so great. But just the overall experience of day in and day out knowing, I get to hang out with these kids and I get to try and get these kids going in the right direction again. It was a lot of fun. And I'm still good friends with a couple of the kids I worked with when they were, 4 or 5.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's really, really cool because when you talk to a lot of fighters that coach kids, they always say it's really, really tough. And with that being said, what do you think is maybe the hardest part about, teaching those kids?
There's always the one kid that doesn't want to be there, and making him do anything is just miserable. It's like, and at some point, it's all right, you go in the corner and just, lick the wall. I'm going to work with everyone else. You go over there, and I'll make sure the parents make it seem as if I'm not giving up on you. And it wasn't every day, but every day you need to make that point to that kid that just is trying hard to be a nuisance. Said, yeah, you're not going to be a nuisance in my class anymore.
Yeah, no, there you go. That definitely makes sense. And, another thing that's pretty cool about you, man, is you're a WWE fan. Who is maybe some of your favorite wrestlers that you can remember?
Well, of course, everyone loves The Rock and Stone Cold. They're great. But my favorite wrestler of all time is Chris Jericho. He's still wrestling. He's not what he used to be, but I always enjoyed him. He was almost as good on the mic as The Rock was, but he was a lot more physical when he wrestled. I just had a good time watching Chris Jericho.
That's awesome. Yeah, Chris Jericho is the man. And with that being said, what's maybe your favorite finisher in the WWE?
The people's elbow. I know the people's elbow was invented to try and make The Undertaker laugh, and then it became the most electrifying move in sports entertainment. It's the move that I think only one person ever has kicked out of. I just love it. It just, every time they fight, I'm hoping it comes in. I'm hoping that to see The Rock, to take that elbow off, or elbow pad off, throw it off from the audience, and drop the most electrifying move in sports entertainment.
Yeah, that's definitely a solid one, man. I love it. And, speaking of the WWE, in the past, you actually sparred Logan Paul. What was it like to kind of spar him and, kind of see his house and all that different stuff?
Yeah, he lives in a castle, or at least he did. This was 6 or 7 years ago now. So I tell everyone, he might be able to beat me up now. I'm not saying anything bad. It's been enough time. But I beat the brakes off him. And I was actively trying not to. I was brought in to be a punching dummy that moved. And I was fine with it. We were just having a good time. He seemed like a very nice man. Enjoyed meeting him. He lived in literally a castle. It was incredible. His car is worth more than my property is right now. He had a full-sized, Olympic-sized boxing ring in his living room, and that's where we sparred. And we sparred in there, and I was being a great partner, doing just enough to make him think he's getting a good workout. And at one point, I threw a jab, and he just headbutted my fist. He fell back. And so, God, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. And his boxing coach kind of yelled, "Hey, we're supposed to take it easy." Like, dude, it was a jab. I didn't do anything. But he gathered himself. He went back out, and we finished another 2 rounds. So I had nothing but respect for him. It was a lucky punch, or he was attacking my fist with his face. But because of that punch, Jake Paul wouldn't spar me. I was supposed to spar them both. I was getting brought in to work with both of them. And Jake, he wouldn't look at me after it. And I'm smiling at him. I'm a fairly friendly guy, but Jake Paul wouldn't have anything to do with me after that.
Wow. Yeah, that's incredible. I definitely remember you saying that about Jake Paul. And, speaking about Jake Paul, what's your thoughts about this Jake Paul-Mike Tyson thing, man?
I think it's a joke. He wants so badly to be considered a real fighter, and he does everything except fight real boxers. And when you watch him, when you watch everything he does, he acts as if he saw what movies say fighters are supposed to be, and then he tries to imitate that. He has seen The Warrior, and he's seen Undisputed, and he's seen the Rocky movies where fighters are supposed to be aggravation, put fit, and it's just not what real fighters do. Not good ones, anyways. Most good fighters are pretty confident in themselves without having to pump themselves up, and everything he does is just a show to try and hype himself up. The one time he fought a real boxer and Tommy Fury, he lost. It was close, but he lost. And now he just beats up old, retired MMA fighters. It's nice that he's calling out Tyson. Tyson's was a boxer. He hasn't boxed in 4 years and hasn't competitively boxed in 14. And he's also 60 or 59 or something right in there. So it's doing what it's supposed to, I guess. People are interested in it. I'm glad it's on Netflix because then I can watch it for nothing. And I probably won't. If there's something else on, I'll probably watch something else and catch that on the replay. But it's good for him, good for him creating the opportunity for himself to box, who is one of the best in the world. But Jake Paul's a joke.
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting fight, man. I don't even know if I want to tune into that one. I don't even know who's going to win that one, honestly. It's going to be an interesting fight for sure.
Yeah, if it goes over 3 rounds, I'm taking Jake Paul. Tyson's 60 years old. He's not going to have, was it an 8-round fight? He's not going to have 8 rounds in him.
No, I don't
Jake
think
Paul
so.
usually doesn't have 8 rounds, but he's going against a 60-year-old, so he'll probably be able to go further.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there. Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting, so I guess we'll have to see. And, I mean, you have a crap ton of fights in your career, like 80 plus. And with that being said, I mean, what's maybe your favorite place that you've maybe seen from sightseeing and just like in general when you've been traveling all over the world in your fighting career?
Yeah, I've done the math, and I've been to like 43 different countries. I have been a little bit everywhere. And my favorite city to fight in is Mexico City. I got to fight there twice. I got to fight Alex Nicholson and then again Rashad Evans almost exactly a year later. And I loved fighting there. I loved the elevation. I loved the people. I had so much fun while fighting there. Favorite places I've been? There's too many to mention. Trinidad was beautiful. I really enjoyed that. Got to swim with some dolphins out in the ocean. I've had a blessed career, but before the UFC, you don't make any money. But I got to travel. I got to go everywhere. And so I've been to New Zealand and Australia and Trinidad and Poland and Albania. I've been around the place. But it's hard to pick a favorite. But I always, wherever it is I go, I love getting off the plane, getting back home.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. No, like I said, you've definitely been fighting all over the place. And another thing I'm curious about too, how hard was it for you to kind of deal with like the different time zones and stuff when you were fighting at these different locations?
It never bothered me. The hardest one was Brazil. I lived in California, went to Brazil. It's only a 4-hour difference, but it was just late enough to make me tired when I wasn't supposed to be tired. It didn't affect the fight at all, but it was like the week of, I was like, oh, this kind of sucks. I'm not tired and I should be asleep.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, that makes sense because I was definitely curious about that because I know every fighter is definitely different with that. And another thing too, when you're coming to training and stuff, man. I mean, what kind of music do you like to listen to when you're training and stuff in the gym?
When I'm lifting weights, and I would do it all the time. I just don't have control of the radio if I'm not lifting weights. If I'm lifting weights, I listen to AM radio. Talk radio is what I'm all about. And I would listen to that if I was, when I was sparring and all that, but nobody else wants to listen to it. So I'll go classical music. I'll get Beethoven on. I'll do whatever. If I get control of the radio, it's either classical music or bluegrass.
Wow. Okay. Now, when you were first started training and stuff, what do you think was maybe the hardest technique to kind of master when you first started?
I didn't really learn any techniques until way after I first started. I was the head coach. I just made it up. I didn't know what I was doing. I just made people think I did. So it was really not a matter of having a technique. It was just, I knew I couldn't learn jiu-jitsu. I couldn't make jiu-jitsu up. So it was all, don't get taken down. And if you get taken down, just stand back up. And so that was great. Eventually, when I moved out of California, I started learning jiu-jitsu and everything. And it's a learning curve, especially when you develop all the wrong habits. Figuring out what the right habits are changes it.
Yeah, no, definitely. And another topic I wanted to ask you about, which I was curious about, is you're a big advocate of like fighter pay and everything like that. With that being said, how do you think fighter pay has evolved like since you first started fighting to kind of nowadays?
If you're in the UFC, you get paid. If you're not in the UFC, you make nothing. I try and convince every young fighter, say, listen, if you're really good at baseball or math, do that. Don't fight because there is no money in it. if you make it to the UFC, you can make some real money. I'm one of the most successful fighters in the history of the sport because I had longevity with it. I won enough fights, I did enough big things, I made enough people like me that my paychecks kept going up and I started making some real good money. But it wasn't retirement money. And when you're done fighting, being a fighter, you don't have any skills that any workplace is interested in. Like, you could be a bouncer, but even then, not really, because bars don't want ex-fighters as bouncers because then everyone wants to fight the ex-fighter. So my best advice to people is don't become a fighter. It's a wasted opportunity. But if you do it, don't sign a contract with anyone that'll take more than 20%, more than 10%. Do not sign a 20% contract.
Yeah, no, I definitely hear it. That's definitely an interesting perspective. And like you mentioned with the bouncer thing, you're obviously a pretty cool guy. I hope this isn't the case, but do you have to have like anybody that was like, maybe some street fights, or maybe somebody was trying to test your skills or anything like that? If so, talk to us a little bit more about maybe like a street fight or something along those lines.
Yeah, honestly, I'm 0-1 in the street. Yeah, man. I'm a big dude, so most people don't want to mess with me anyways. But I'm a friendly guy. Nobody wants to pick a fight with a friendly guy. But I was bouncing one time, and it was St. Patty's Day. I was out in California, and we were dead all night. But then, like, just before midnight, there were a dozen Native American fellas drove in, already pre-buzzed and all that. So we were happy to sell more liquor, but they were looking for problems right away. So I was dealing with something, the manager was dealing with something outside, and then I saw him shove the manager. So I went outside and said, knock it off. They, shoved the manager in, so I double-legged him. When I double-legged him, every Indian, every Native America in the place was outside, and dude out of somewhere kicked me in the face, and that was the end of my night. That was, I woke up 10 minutes later talking with policemen. I was on my feet walking and talking, and all of a sudden I came to, was like, holy shit. I don't know how I got here. Yeah, didn't know anyone kicked me. Had no idea what had happened. But there were cops there. People were getting hauled off, and I was on my feet talking to a cop, and I had no idea what happened. I mean, they filled me in after the case. My bartenders and everything said, yeah, some dude just flew around the side, kicked you in the face, and then everybody fought.
Wow. So how long ago was that? Did you mention it? I'm sorry.
Oh, that would have been 12 or 13 years ago.
Wow. Okay. That's incredible. I had no idea about that. And hopefully it doesn't happen again. Cause like I said, you're such a cool guy, and hopefully people don't, they should know better with this being said. And man, thank you so much for coming on the show. And there's one thing I always like to ask every fighter I bring on the show. With me being a Taekwondo instructor, I've been teaching for 6 years, training for 19 years. So I just kind of love what I do with martial arts. And it's super, super cool to talk to somebody like you that's in Karate Combat, because I really, really like that organization right now. I think they're going to do big things in the future. And
100%, they're the place to be. It is the most entertaining combat sport out there, not just because I'm in it, although it does, my fights make it better. It's just faster paced than anything else. You don't waste time. I'm a jiu-jitsu almost black belt, I wrestle all that, but still, when a fight goes to the ground, it's darn it, nobody likes it. No matter how much they say they do, everybody prefers a knockout.
Yeah, no, they definitely do, man. And so basically all I was just going to say was, with all the guys in my gym, I mean, what advice would you give them to keep on coming into the gym and to keep on getting better and better every day?
You're only going to be as good as you put into it. You're only going to get out of it what you put into it. So put everything into it, especially if you want to compete where it's full contact, where you're getting hit. Don't take shortcuts. There will be days where you don't feel like training. Go and train. You can talk to your coach. Say, Coach, I got a hangover. I've got a headache. Or I got a this or that. Deal with it. Do something else. Don't get hit today. But do not take days off. Throughout my whole career, I hear people talk about what's it called? Overtraining. Overtraining isn't the real thing. I mean, if people were to have overtrained, it would have been me, because I know exactly how many calories I'm burning a day. I know what I'm putting in. I know all of that. And I have not overtrained. It takes certain levels to do it, and people are very willing to say they made those certain levels. You did not.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. That's definitely some solid advice, and I definitely agree with you, man. You definitely have to show up no matter what, even when you're not feeling it, because I think those are actually the best days, because that definitely brings the best out of you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And with that being said, Sam, it's been awesome talking to you. And what's maybe your final message out there for the fans watching this video?
Hey, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for following. Thank you for the support. I'm working on some big things on my Instagram and TikTok right now. I'm actually selling shirts too. I just got into the shirt selling business, so you can find all those links on my TikTok. But thank you guys. I wouldn't have had a job without you guys tuning in to watch me do it. So thank you for the career, for the life, the family you helped me achieve.
Yeah, no, thank you, Sam. It means a lot, and I really hope in the future I can maybe see you doing some of those nunchucks and bow. I mean, like I said, it doesn't matter if it's not the best like you think. I would just love to see it in general, man. I think that could be some awesome content, and I mean, even too, I think it'd be really cool if you maybe broke down some of those techniques, like like the figure eights and stuff. I think there's a lot of people that don't know that stuff, and especially with you being a former UFC fighter and just pro fighter at the moment. I mean, I think people are going to tune in and really, really like it. So I hope you post it, and if so, make sure you send me it because I'm more than happy to promote it and check it out. That's for sure.
All right, I will do. I appreciate that, sir. Thank you.
My man. All right, Sam, enjoy the rest of your day. Again, thank you so much for coming on. It means a lot.
Hey, have a good one, my friend.
My man. All right, take care, Sam. Thank you again.